Hi, I'm Graham. Welcome back to Man vs Film. We're going to be continuing our look into the Fast and the Furious franchise with Fast and Furious 2009.
Man vs Film.
When fugitive Dominic Toretto is informed that his beloved Letty has died and been assassinated, he returns to Los Angeles to find out who killed her. Meanwhile, his former friend and current FBI agent, Brian O'Connor, is on the case of a heroin smuggler called Braga. Braga is looking for replacement drivers to courier his drugs from the Mexican border to the United States, and that's where O'Connor and Toretto come together to try and get position in his drug smuggling business. Toretto and O'Connor must work together to bring down Braga and find out who killed Letty and get revenge for their fallen comrade. As with part 3, Justin Lin returns as a director to take on this part of the franchise. He also did Tokyo Drift, like I said, and the parts 5 and 6 that follow. He also did that Better Luck Tomorrow that I talked about in the last video. Now, the budget for Fast and Furious was the exact same as Tokyo Drift, 85 million, only this time it made 364 million at the worldwide box office, which was a huge return and a proper success and the most money that the franchise had taken to date. This was all down to partially with the advertising. It was advertised as a new model with the same original parts, and it brings back the original cast from the first movie. You know, you've got Michelle Rodriguez, you've got Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Jordana Brewster. Although it's got the original parts, it is a new model like the advertisement said. It is a whole new take in the Fast and Furious franchise. It's almost as if it's grown up a little bit. The movie is a clear departure from the street racing movies that came before it, the first three. It tries to move into a more crime orientated one, tries to bring a little bit more melodrama and a little bit of the soap opera for the first one into it. It tries to be a more adult version of the Fast and the Furious. The movie opens with an absolutely fantastic action sequence, and if the rest of the movie had continued along that vein, it would have been amazing. Unfortunately not. Quite soon after that it tends to fizzle down and get kind of caught up in its own plot, and there is action sequence after it, but nothing is as thrilling as the opening action sequence. Again, it seems to be a facet of the Fast and the Furious franchise. It's got a weak plot, a plot that's been seen before again, and the only thing that differentiated the past movies from this one is they had good action sequences. It could distract you from the boring plot, the uninteresting plot. This one doesn't have that. You know, it leads with an exciting action movie, then gets into the melodrama of the story, and never really breaks free of that. There's a couple of driving sequences throughout it, but nothing is as good as that original action scene. Part of the convoluted plot is about drug runners smuggling heroin from the Mexican border through into the US side. Now, they do this by driving through a mountain or a tunnel or something under the ground. There's tunnels that go, and it begs the question, a few questions actually, why are the tunnels so tight? If somebody spent the money to actually make this tight, why wouldn't you make it look a bit bigger? And whenever somebody's driving through it, it tends to look a bit like a video game, and not a very good video game at that. You know, it looks mostly CGI, and the action that comes from that just isn't exciting, because you can almost envisage the people sitting in cars with green screens and people rocking them. You don't feel as if the cars are actually there taking place, whereas when they were doing street racing, it did look as if the cars were doing the actual stunts on this. In these tunnels there's space for like 2 cars to sort of drive, but at some point one side of it's just blocked off, but not just blocked off in a natural way, no, it's blocked off with highly explosive flammable things. I wonder if that's going to come into the story later on. Another thing I just can't get my head around is, how is O'Connor working with the FBI again? This guy was a wanted fugitive. He helped out a little bit in Miami when he did his thing, but still, how did he make it back into a position of authority in the FBI, where he tends to be working a little bit outside the rule? It seems crazy that he get back into that position again, and unrealistic. Justin Lin does shows he's got another facet to his action directing. There's a good chase sequence with Paul Walker when he's introduced at the start as well, and that's quite good as well. Now, hopefully that will evolve in the later movies, but you know, Justin Lin seems to have a real eye for action. Unfortunately, the CGI action under the mountain or underground isn't that great, but when it's doing with actual people doing actual stunts, it seems to be terrific and really well filmed and really well edited. Overall, Fast and the Furious tries to shake the mould a little bit. It tries something new and it doesn't succeed, but it does try something new, and it should be commended for at least trying to, you know, shake off the previous editions and rejuvenate things a little bit. But it just doesn't work. As the franchise goes, it's one of the weaker entries in it, which is disappointing. I'm going to give Fast and the Furious 2 out of 5. You know, I've only seen it a couple of times and I just don't like it. I don't find it interesting. It doesn't involve me at all. Even though I know these characters from previous editions, it still doesn't drag me in or pull me in at all. Next up will be Fast 5, where The Rock comes in to lay waste and destroy and hunt down our band of heroes from the previous movies. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, if you just click this little link right here, I'll be forever in your debt. So go on, do it, click it. And I will see you next time on Man v Film.